to the Ascend program, Unit 11, Inspiring Engagement. This is Juan Riboldi. The focus of today's course is to learn how to bring up the best in others, finding what engages people so they can achieve their full potential, and even learning techniques to motivate those who seem to be disengaged. We will finish this course by talking about ways to recognize others and catching people doing things right. The concept of full engagement in someone's work is complex. Think of a time when you were fully engaged in doing something. You enjoyed what you were doing so much, you lost yourself in the activity. You performed your best. You felt great inner satisfaction from the activity itself. What was it like being fully engaged? Engagement is the voluntary dedication to doing one's best work. When people apply their hands, hearts, and minds to what they do, they become fully engaged. People need to be fully engaged in order to reach peak performance. Engagement springs from a genuine desire to treat others the way we want to be treated. We become fully engaged when we commit to a cause greater than ourselves. Employee engagement has been talked about for the last few decades, and yet is still not very well understood. It is linked to productivity, higher quality, talent retention, customer loyalty, revenue growth, and higher earnings. People are engaged by different aspects of their job. Knowing what to do for each person and group requires a sound understanding of what drives engagement. Think of a time when you or someone you know have been fully engaged at work. What was it like? Usually people lose track of time, feel so excited about what they're doing, they don't even think it's work. They love what they do. Anything else becomes a distraction. Even getting paid for it seems like a bonus because you're doing something that is so intrinsically rewarding. Most interesting, we feel like we're in a flow state. We're doing our very best, almost naturally, instinctively. Most often we enjoy so much what we do that it's easy to cooperate and work well with others. Being fully engaged delivers a value to the job that is way beyond the job itself. In fact, highly engaged individuals outperform the average by as much as 3 times. So the value of being fully engaged at what we do is extremely useful for us personally, as well as for the organization who has engaged employees. Now, when we look at how engagement looks across an entire group of people, you may find that while there may be always a few individuals that are highly engaged, there are some that are somewhat engaged. There are others that are passively engaged, just not hating what they're doing, but not necessarily on fire about it. There are some that are a little disengaged, just checking in the time, looking forward to get back home. And then there are some that are actively disengaged, becoming toxic and negative to the environment. So if you were to take the pulse of your team or your organization, how engaged are you? And more importantly, in what direction is your team heading? In learning what drives other people to perform their very best, we need to understand their engagement profile. Engagement means different things for different people. People are engaged by different aspects of their job. Different roles and functions even within the same organization are typically engaged by different drivers. Think, for example, of a typical sales representative. These individuals are usually motivated by high risks and high rewards opportunities. On the other hand, a nurse may respond best by being treated with respect and having the right tools and equipment to do her job.
Even within the same profession, people may be engaged differently depending on the company's culture. For example, a medical scientist will likely be engaged differently whether they belong to an established pharmaceutical company or they are part of a medical equipment startup.
Now, most of us are engaged by different things. So as a leader, it's important to understand what makes your people tick, basically. What gets them fully engaged at work. In our study, we find that there are 5 drivers of engagement. And all of us have a primary driver, a secondary driver, and possibly one that is the least likely to engage us. So let's take a look at the 5 drivers of engagement.
We have identified 5 key drivers of engagement: high achievement, exciting opportunities, sense of belonging, noble purpose, and individual freedom. Now, all of us may be engaged by all 5 of these elements to a different degree. Typically, one is a dominant driver of engagement for our work activity. And typically, there's a secondary driver for engagement. And then there is one that is the least likely to engage us. So, of these 5 forces, it is important to understand.
So, not all groups of people within a profession will be necessarily engaged by the same drivers. Individuals have their own personal drivers of engagement. So as a leader, our job is to learn what will make each individual tick and be able to reinforce those drivers of engagement for that particular person. Now, leading a team, you may want to know what your team's drivers for engagements ought to be and consistently reinforce those drivers that would allow your team as a whole to optimize performance. If some individuals within the team are not fitting that driver, you may have to work with them individually, or eventually they may find that this team is not the right place for them.
Highly engaged organizations create the conditions where the best people can consistently excel. Highly engaged organizations channel their energies and resources in a disciplined way to emphasize the key engagement drivers. High engagement happens when the needs and wants of both the enterprise and the employees are both satisfied. Managers can apply the corresponding levers to create the right conditions for engagement within their own teams. So think about your own self. To what degree are you engaged by a sense of high achievement or exciting opportunities, sense of belonging, noble purpose, or individual freedom? Rate on a scale of 1 to 5, 5 being the highest, how valuable are each of these drivers of engagement to you personally at work? And which one is the least important to you? If you are fully engaged at work, you are probably working in an organization that emphasizes those same drivers. If you happen to be disengaged, you may not find that your team or your organization fully support the things that motivate you to do your best. The 5 drivers of engagement describe 5 distinct approaches to motivating people. Organizations, like individuals, display a preference for one of the key drivers. Emphasizing the primary driver yields the highest performance gains for the employee and for the enterprise. Most organizations, however, use more than one of the key drivers to engage employees. The balance of the 5 drivers within a company creates a unique engagement profile. And understanding an organization's engagement profile provides insights for motivating its employees. Teams realize the greatest value from their members by leveraging their unique engagement drivers and emphasizing those drivers that align with the team's engagement profile, and de-emphasizing those that are the least preferred. Team members receive the most value from their work when their actions are reinforced by the team's engagement drivers. Achieving full engagement results when both the individuals and the enterprise seek to make the most of their exchange at work. The organization seeks to maximize the value for its workers, and the workers seek to get the most value from their job. Leaders who actively use the levers of engagement bring the greater value to both parties. Again, highly engaged organizations create the conditions where the best people can consistently excel. While the concept of employee engagement is relatively new in the business world, the idea behind it is not. For decades, attempts to define the employee's discretionary effort at work have been described with words such as productivity, job satisfaction, employee morale, initiative, and empowerment. Engagement is the contemporary, more comprehensive measure of doing one's best at work. In order to be engaged, an employee must be satisfied, motivated, and effective. While each of these factors is important on its own, it is only when all three are present simultaneously that true engagement occurs. Take, for example, the case of an assembly line employee who is satisfied with her job. Her job means steady employment. She feels satisfied with her pay. She starts at 7 a.m. and is done in time to pick up her 7-year-old from school. It meets her needs. Yet she would not say that she looks forward to coming to work each day, nor she is motivated by her work environment. She is simply satisfied. Her coworker, on the other hand, has recently been given an assignment to ensure the assembly line is producing a record capacity. She is very effective in this role and has been able to meet production targets. Yet her manager rarely recognizes her work. She is so dissatisfied with the lack of recognition that she is looking for a different job. She is effective in her job, and yet she is not satisfied nor motivated. Now, a third coworker has just been brought into the position by two friends. She is still learning the job, but thoroughly enjoys working with the people she knows and is willing to keep the job for at least the summer months. This worker is motivated by the job, not necessarily satisfied in the long term nor effective. Neither one of these three women are necessarily engaged at work. One is satisfied, the other is effective, yet the third is motivated, but none of them are fully engaged. Knowing what to do for each person requires a sound understanding of what motivates them. We need to identify what are the drivers of engagement for that specific individual and then create the conditions that consistently reinforce those drivers. We can sum up employee engagement as a formula that engagement equals satisfaction plus motivation plus competence. That means that I like doing the job, I want to do the job, and I am good at doing the job. When all three conditions are present, you can say that I am fully engaged by the job. As a leader, your own behavior matters a lot. Giving positive reinforcement is a powerful way to inspire engagement in others. Recognition is typically the most underused and most highly desired form of engagement. Most employee surveys score recognition as one of the lowest scores, and all studies point that recognition is one of the biggest drivers for engagement. As a leader, you can make a habit of recognizing people and see the impact that has on their morale. You may want to test the power of rounding for recognition. Take the time every day for 4 consecutive weeks to go around the office or your workplace watching for things that are done right. Catch people on the spot doing something well. Even if it is their regular job, it doesn't matter. Recognize them in person at the time, or take note and recognize them later. Rounding for recognition is a way to inspire people to do their very best. It may take a commitment of time. It may take a commitment of your time to spend time daily rounding for recognition, but the payoff will be noticeable. Some people will say, will it be insincere if I do it out of a management practice? We're not necessarily asking you to be insincere, but we really are asking you to be deliberate about it. Making a deliberate effort does not necessarily mean that you're insincere in the praise that you give. Now, there are many different forms of praise, and we can just list a few. A thank you note, a pat in the back, verbal affirmation, a gift card, a plaque, a letter to the family, a trophy, a day off at work, simply giving credit where credit is due, a spot bonus, movie tickets for the team, a club membership, being recognized as Employee of the Month, giving a better parking space, a jar of candy, a room decoration, a special opportunity or assignment, a public spotlight, or simply a comment, "Great job." Most of us will respond very positively to positive recognition. So why don't we use it more often in the workplace to create a highly engaged workforce? Thanks very much for your time today. I hope you have enjoyed this class and find ways to identify what helps people be fully engaged and create the conditions for them to give their best at work. Have a great day.